So here it is. Did we derive, from my very first example, did we derive value from this enterprise architecture? Randy Hyde today from GAO kind of stole some of my thunder, which he often doesn't because he's GAO because they write us all up and make our lives very comfortable. And I used to say that if you really want to get your enterprise architecture engaged and charged, and you're having a very difficult time in your agency getting senior leadership buy-in and support, just call 1-800-GAO. Because when they deliver the report, you have a burning platform, don't you? You heard him talk about Commissioner Kelly. He didn't mention his name specifically, but Commissioner Kelly right now is the NYPD Commissioner for Mayor Bloomberg in New York City. He was the Commissioner of U.S. Customs. And what Randy said was actually true. He told Woody Hall, after he came out of that hearing, and I was at that hearing also, he said, I have no clue what Rob does, but I'm a former Marine and I want Rob to take the hill. That helped me in an incredible way because I needed to work with the Office of Field Operations, Internal Affairs, all of the agents that carried guns that wanted to create their own IT. And I told them, I said, I would like a gun and a badge because you all want to create your own IT, so I want to have my way of going after bad guys too. And I made my point. But what was really good was all the way throughout U.S. Customs, I had open doors because the commissioner, with all of his assistant commissioners in this building, up on the 10th floor, because this is where we were at, made it very, very clear and explicit that we had to do that. And why did he say it? He said it for two reasons at the time. Number one, we were on a high-risk list, just like you heard James Washington saying today. And James is the vice president at FAA, but he's also the big senior executive for all of acquisition. We were also on high risk. And not only were we on high risk, they fenced all of the CIO's budget. Not just the modernization money, just even the IT money, they fenced it all. We were not allowed to move forward. So they hired me in to become the chief architect to get the architecture rolling. In 1 year, we got the CIO's money unfenced. And within 2.5 years, we got the $1.5 billion modernization money unencumbered over on the Hill, and we moved forward, and it was awarded to Lockheed Martin and IBM. And today is where they're really seeing the value. I viewed that as value at the time, and architecture was very, very good to me because I won the Fed 100 award, and then they promoted to me to senior executive service, so I always said enterprise architecture has been very, very good to me. That was at U.S. Customs, and they brought me back over to the Air Force as SES. But beyond that, they modernized 301 ports across U.S. Customs. They were collecting $32 billion in revenues. You know, back in the early days in 1779, in the second act of the Continental Congress, they were the breadwinner for the Department of Treasury. We didn't have this thing that happened on April 15, and this thing called IRS, something called income tax. They're the big breadwinners now in the trillions. But since this day, since the modernization of these ports in this automated commercial environment, they are now collecting in the neighborhood of $40-some billion at U.S. Customs. Is there business value in what that architecture did? And it's not just an architecture. They actually have the business owners and an architecture steering committee and a technology reviewing committee, a very robust architecture effort all the way across U.S. Customs. And the company I hired 12 years ago, Kinetic, Randy said it was 14 years ago, it was 11 years ago, and we actually had the hearing. I remember it because I lost a lot of blood. It was in May of 1999. He was thinking it was 96. It wasn't, but I didn't want to correct him because he is GAO. But they have made major strides in U.S. Customs because of the enterprise architecture. It's guiding, conforming, and constraining the things that are happening across that organization. So for me, that's where it counts. But then I've always had this debate, this itch within me that I want to tell you about, and that is, you're not going to get an ROI in the federal government and Department of Defense on every one of your enterprise architectures, are you? It's not possible. And I used to go crazy because we'd spend millions of dollars on business cases and cost effectiveness analysis, and what we were trying to do is kill people, stop bad guys from coming across the airport, and we were trying to stop weapons of mass destruction. Are you going to get an ROI on that? What's the value of the people's lives in the United States and societies in general? So you're not always going to get that perfect ROI. If you're in the Federal Protection Service or FBI, you're into deterrence. You're going to create a lot of enterprise architectures and deliver a lot of systems, and capabilities to do a lot of things that aren't going to get you a return on investment, but they are going to make our society much, much better because of the enterprise architecture that you created. Okay, and up on the one at U.S. Customs, I mentioned I went to the U.S. Air Force, and you heard before about subsets of architecture. Well, this is a subset of our enterprise architecture. And you think, well, it looks pretty simple. That was my budget, $25 billion in the Air Force, C4ISR. Now that's a very, very high level. But you can see the Army over here, the Navy right here, and this was the C4ISR enterprise architecture. Most of it was classified in the background, but what was the goal here? The goal was during World War II, we spent weeks planning what bridges and stuff we were going to take out, and we took weeks to do that in Vietnam and Korea. And when we got to Allied Force, we were taking 3 days in our air tasking orders cycle in order to get effects. Chief of Staff of the Air Force said the craziest thing I've ever heard anybody say at the 4-star level in my life. He brought in all of his 3 stars, and I was in the room, and he said, you know what we need to do? We need to create an enterprise architecture that shortens the kill chain. And then he went on and started explaining the enterprise architecture. I never thought I would hear that from the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force in my life, but that's what General Jumper did. We marched off on this. We spent $1 million a month for 24 straight months. And what we did was get the kill chain into double digits to start with. And we did get it there. We got it into the 50-some minutes, and as I was still with the Air Force, we got it down and down, and what his goal was is we are going to shorten the kill chain to single digits. How many of you remember when we started in Iraq? Do you remember we had a big plan and everybody kept saying we're going in on a certain date, and then all of a sudden we heard that the leader of Iraq was having dinner with a bunch of his folks, and they redirected 2 B-2s in there and tried to get him that first night when they actually had a sighting? That happened because of this architecture right here. We did cursor on target, and we did a bunch of changes, and you see up here to the left what that acronym means, and it means nothing to you, probably maybe. How many people don't even know what that is? Okay, I see one person back over here, so he gets the Distinguished Graduate Award. All the rest of you get the DG Award for done graduated, okay? So that's define, fix, track, target, engage, and assess. And that's the kill chain. And it's the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, and that's what they do to plan what targets they're going to take out in the area of conflict. And that's what we worked on. And there's an enormous amount that's captured in systems at the SAPSAR level here. Incredible value, and we know it was valuable because we saw the results over and over and over again. Okay, so moving to my third one. Again at Defense Department one, but one we did at U.S. Customs. And what we did was we got hired as the prime contractor at the Defense Logistics Agency in order to modernize the entire supply chain management of all of the Defense Logistics Agency. Lieutenant General or Vice Admiral Keith Lippard was there at the time. He dealt with an enormous amount of culture, but they developed the EA. Accenture played a major role in that. They delivered this, and they are now delivering through the supply chain to the warfighters out in the field twice what they used to with half the people they have at the Defense Logistics Agency. Is that value? Is that mission effectiveness and doing way more than what you did before? Absolutely. And this is a real-life example, probably one of the biggest ERPs in play today, and the actual statistics and the metrics that come out of this have been nothing less than profound. And again, are we doing that because we needed an ROI on that? Well, we needed to definitely be better, faster, and cheaper at it, but think about how much better we're able to equip the troops out there in the field.